let me ask you about Garry Tonon. So he is one of the, at least in my opinion, greatest submission grapplers of all time. There's a lot of components to that, but he lost in his first match.
Not only did Garry lose, he lost to the bottom seed of his division. And that in itself is something pretty remarkable about what's happening in ADCC, how there's a sense in which the days of the invited athletes being far superior to the trials winners are over. It was a clear signal that anyone who makes it to ADCC can beat the best people. Sam McNally is a very talented submission grappler from Ireland. He specializes mostly in arm bars, but he has a good positional game as well. Has a very modern look to his jiu-jitsu, and he did a fantastic job against Garry Tonon. I think tactically, Garry perhaps got a little far away from his true nature in grappling, which is relentless submission attack, and perhaps I should be given blame for this because I put such a heavy emphasis on the training camp overall on positional pressure that I feel that worked very well for all of the athletes except Garry Tonon. And
interesting. So his you have to acknowledge the nature of the athlete part.
And I think I was coaching so hard to the new people in the room on positional pressure that I neglected Garry's innate ability to the fact that he does best when he attacks exclusively by submission. So I think if anyone should get blamed for the failure here, it should be me.
There's another comment as maybe I'm overvaluing the sort of just the physical aspect of this, but it seemed like Garry looked skinny. Is the weight cut difficult here?
This is the first time he ever went down to the 66 kilos. So it wasn't critical. There's other guys who are bigger than him who made the weight.
But the weight cut, if you can just comment on, does that ever play a part in the athletes, the physical and the mental aspect of the weight cut? It is a thing like in wrestling that could break even some of the toughest minds.
Yeah, but no, it wasn't a weight cut that would break someone like Garry Tonon. It's more physical. You train lighter and weaker. You tend to get injured more in camp because you're lighter. We have a team now after the breakout that's mostly comprised of people over 215 pounds. So there's very few small people left in the gym. Most of the smaller athletes went to B team. So Garry's been struggling a little bit with training partners. And but here I think the chief problem was that Garry focused perhaps a little too much on the positional tactical game and got away from his true gift, which is relentless hunting for submissions. And as I said, I think the person to blame for that is me, because I had to put so much emphasis on the positional game for the developing athletes that I didn't pay enough attention to Garry's unique attributes.
So this, I mentioned I posted some stuff on Reddit, so there's a relevant question here. Somebody on Reddit asked, Gordon has said, and perhaps you have said as well, that there are two types of jiu-jitsu practitioners, ones who move themselves around like Marcelo Garcia, and ones that control the motion of their opponents like Gordon. What are the strengths and weaknesses of each approach? And how do those different approaches apply depending on which weight class you're in?
That's a great set of questions. Yes, I'm the person who promulgates this idea that there's two broad ways you can go in jiu-jitsu. You can either focus on promoting your own movement to create opportunity, or by restricting the other person's movement. If you're a slower, less athletic opponent, then you should definitely focus on the idea of restricting the other fellow's movement. That's how slow, unathletic people win in jiu-jitsu. If you're quick with the ability to change direction, stand up quickly, go down quickly, and move like a leopard, then you're almost always better off generating movement in order to create opportunity. So one is based more on movement as the source of opportunity. One is based more upon pressure as the source of opportunity. So you'll get someone like Garry Tonon or the Ruotolo brothers. Their game is based around the idea of promoting their own movement to create opportunity, whereas someone like Gordon Ryan or Hodger Gracie is about restricting movement and using that pressure to create reactive opportunity. Those are the two paths you can take in jiu-jitsu. Because our team now has become mostly associated with people over 200 pounds, and because most of them were beginners, I took the more high percentage approach of, okay, let's focus primarily on controlling the other fellow's movement. And but Gary's a unique individual, and I feel like I let him down by not giving him special attention in regards to what he does.
The fact that you've mentioned this now like 4 times in the span of a few minutes, just I love that all of this stuff weighs so heavy on you. And he is a truly special person. It is truly interesting to see what is the nature of a particular athlete that if you highlight makes them shine.
Let's go to the part where Garry actually loses the match. Okay, so the match is pretty innocuous at this point. The guy does a good job of turning into the arm, and Garry gets caught reaching from the knees. Okay, that's always a mistake. And the guy I think does a great job capitalizing on it. Now there's limited time left on the clock. This guy realizes, oh, this is my opportunity. He's got good flexibility and he gets the hook. So if he just frees it right there. So there's a minute and a half left, and typically in ADCC, if you get the back, you score 3 points. So this is a huge score. For Garry to win here, it's got to be by submission. Okay, so Gary's made one mistake. Now, this talented young fellow from Ireland does a great job, not only of getting the back, but he really attacks well from the back. And let's look at the depth of Garry Tonon's defensive acumen here.
And we should say, leading up to this, his defense is incredible.
Yeah,
he keeps escaping every position.
Our nickname for Garry is the slippery salmon, because it's like trying to hold a goddamn salmon on the riverbank, trying to hold on to this kid. So he gets into a position which looks absolutely hopeless here. It gets worse. This is already bad. But
it's one of the most fun things to watch about Garry is the skill in the escapes. It's incredible. It's beautiful to watch.
So the guy has an excellent opportunity to transition off here into a rear triangle, which is one of the hardest things in the world to get out of. And from here, if this was anyone but Garry Tonon, I think it would have been curtains. But you see, Garry just extends, keeps his arm at just the right angle to pop out and gets out. So now Gary's like, oh, crap, I'm going to lose to this fucking guy. So he's got a minute left to do something. So he goes back into his submission mode. He goes back to who Garry Tonon is and immediately goes into leg lock action. Now, the young man from Ireland realizes, hey, I'm going to win this match against the number 1 seed. So Garry goes into the legs, gets to one of his favorite techniques, the heel hook. Now Garry has a brutal heel hook attack and gets real pressure on the kid's leg.
Oh, now, I can't. Oh, that's hard to watch.
Yeah, but to his credit, the kid is smart. He's like, you know what? Let me take some pain.
Is there a weakness to that? Like where he turned his hips?
Yeah, it's unclear from the video whether Gary's arm slipped up. There's considerable braking pressure there.
Oh, it slipped.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, it's unclear.
Well, even before,
but sometimes the heel can slip because something's popped. So it's unclear what happened there. There seems to be a reaction from the part of the opponent. Like it definitely did some damage. So Garry goes back for a second one.
Oh no.
And again, you get that same kind of pressure.
Oh no! Oh right.
But I like the Irish kid's reaction though. He's just like, you know what? Let me eat this because I'm going to win this match and I'm going to be a legend for beating Garry Tonon. So I admired his internal fortitude. And but now Garry knows he's lost it. So there's a sense there in which you see how close it gets in these situations, how little there is between winner and loser. And sometimes you just get these heartbreaking situations where someone who ordinarily you would probably do very well against, and you make one mistake, and it's an unrewarding, uncompromising sport. One mistake can be fatal.